Want to welcome you to Good News from the Mountain. I'm Pastor Rod Smith, pastor of Mountain Ministries, and want to welcome you to another edition of Good News from the Mountain. Good News from the Mountain is a special ministry in the off-season of our in-person worship at the Prairie Mountain Retreat Center. But guess what? Coming April 2nd, we're going to be back on that mountain every Wednesday night all the way through the end of September. And we would really love to have you come. 7 o'clock, that's a very special place to be there for worship. But also something that we're working on. We're going to try to be doing our Wednesday night services live, streaming them live, and then placing them on our website and also placing them on our Facebook page. And if you have ever been to Prairie Mountain, you know it's a very, very spiritual place. And we would invite you to come. If you ever have any questions about the ministry or about Wednesday night, just give me a call. It's 724-601-6546. And we would really love to see you and have you come and be a part of that worshiping community beginning on Wednesday night, April 2nd, 7 o'clock at the Prairie Mountain Retreat Center. Well, today I want to share with you something that I think is pretty special. Many, many years ago, I bought this book called Prayer by Richard Foster. And I had no idea how it was going to infect my heart with grace and affect my heart with the power of prayer. In fact, I went to see Richard Foster at a very special prayer conference, and my goodness, he spoke the word of God to so many people. So through the years, I have always gone back to this book. And just the other day, I looked over and I saw it on my bookshelf, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna share some of the thoughts of this book on this podcast. And I hope that you will receive a very special blessing. God has graciously allowed me to catch a glimpse of his heart. And I want to share that with you. What I have seen with my own eyes, what I have seen with my own heart. And I pray that it will be a special place for you, a special place that you'll be able to see the heart. For today, the heart of God is an open wound of love. He aches over our distance and our preoccupation. He mourns that we've really not been as near to him as he had hoped. He grieves that we have forgotten him sometimes. And he weeps over our obsession with muchness and manyness. And you know what God longs for? God longs for you and I to come into his presence. And God is inviting you. He's inviting me to come home. To come home to where we belong, why we were born for him. To come home to God for which we were created, because God's arms are stretched wide to receive us. His heart is enlarged to take us in and to love us like we've never been loved before. But too long, my friends, we've been in a far country, a country of noise and hurry and crowds, and a country of climb and push and shove, and a country of frustration, a country of fear, a country of intimidation. And God welcomes us home. Home to serenity, home to peace, home to joy, home to friendship and fellowship and openness, home to intimacy like we have never felt before, and acceptance and affirmation. And we don't have to need to be shy. He invites us into the living room of his heart, where we can put on old slippers and we can share freely. He invites us into the kitchen of his friendship, where chatter and batter mix with good fun. He invites us into the dining room of his strength, where we can feast to our heart's delight. He invites us into the study of his wisdom, where we can learn and grow and stretch and ask all the questions we want. He invites us even into the workshop of his creativity, where we can sit with co-laborers, working, determined to share his love. He invites us into the heart of God. And you see, the key to the heart of God is prayer. Perhaps you have never prayed. There might be somebody listening to this broadcast who accidentally came upon it. It wasn't an accident, my friend. It was a God incident. Maybe you've never prayed before, except for when you were in anguish or when you were in terror. It may be the only time that the divine name has ever been on your lips and in your heart. Never mind, I'm here to tell you that the Father's heart is open wide to you. So come in. Perhaps you do not believe in prayer. You've tried to pray. You've prayed and you've prayed and you've prayed and you've been disappointed and you've been disillusioned and you have such little faith. And it doesn't matter because the Father's heart is open wide and He welcomes you in. Perhaps you're bruised. You're broken by the pressures of life. Others have wronged you and you feel so scarred for your life. You have old, painful memories that never have been healed, and you avoid prayer because you feel too distant or too unworthy or too defiled. And you're in despair. My friends, the Father's heart is wide, and you're welcome to come in. Perhaps maybe you've been praying for many, many years, but the words have gone so brittle and so old and so cold. Little happens anymore. And God seems to be remote and inaccessible. Listen to me, the Father's heart is open to you wide and He welcomes you to come in. Perhaps prayer is the center of your life. You've lived in divine presence for a long time, but you long for more power, more love, more of God in your life. Believe me, the Father's heart is open wide to you. If the key is prayer, my friends, then the door is Jesus Christ. How good of God that He provided for us a way into His heart. Did you hear that? It's because of God coming to us in Jesus Christ that He knew that we were stiff-necked and hard-hearted and that we had provided a means of entrance. Jesus, the Christ, the perfect life. He died in our place and He rose victorious over all the darkness and the powers that we might have through Him. This is the good news, my friends. No longer do we have to stand outside. Did you hear that? We no longer are outside of God, barred from the nearness of God by our own sins, our own messes, our own rebellion, our own attitudes, our own religiosity. We can now enter through the door of God's grace and mercy in Jesus Christ. That, my friends, is the good news. And I pray that if you're standing outside the faith right now, you're standing outside your family, you're standing outside your church, you're standing outside your God. Look, because He's opened the door wide, so that you and I could come in to the presence of our God. Oh, my friends, that is the good news of Jesus Christ. And I pray that that good news comes into your heart and your life this day. I pray that God's blessing has invited you into His heart. May God's blessing be with you until next week when we gather again for good news from the mountain. Until then, the heart of God is wide, and the key is prayer, and Jesus Christ is the door. Did you just hear it? He opened the door once again for you and me. God's blessings.